talk about giving advice, receiving advice, and everything around it. If you do like this video, don't forget to hit the like button. If you do want to see a part 2 to this or a part 2 to any other series, or you have any other suggestions, don't forget to comment down below. And finally, don't forget to subscribe. We're on our way to 1,250 subs. So as you might be able to tell, I am sick. I've been sick for like the past week. I do not have the big thing that everyone, that the world is suffering from, I guess. I can't say it because YouTube doesn't like when you say that in videos for some reason, so yeah. Just like normal cold stuff, not great. But yeah, so I posted a video probably about a year ago, talking about like relationship advice, and I think I did a life advice video as well. And both of those were very positively received. And I've been told to do part 2s, so I kind of wanted to come on here and talk, I don't know, about everything. So yeah, I really enjoyed making those videos, and honestly I thought I kind of had a lot to say in them, and you can go rewatch those if you want life advice or relationship advice, but they're like a year old now, so it might be a little outdated, I don't know. But I just wanted to like come on here and say why I haven't really done part 2s of those. And the main reason is that like I find it so like difficult to give advice more than I've already given, just because obviously in the past year I've learned things, but I haven't learned enough to make a whole part 2 to the video. And advice is really weird. Some people take it with a grain of salt and other people like live by it, so I didn't want to put anything out there that was like, you know, just anything out there that could have maybe affected someone's view in a negative way or whatever. You know, I'm still in a relationship. I don't really have any advice to add on to that, and I do think I've learned some life advice over the past year or so, which I'll get into, and some stuff that I didn't mention. So why don't I throw some advice out there? And I don't know if I said this in the other videos, but don't take my advice with a grain of salt, and make sure like you're not just like doing what I say because you like it. It like make sure it's actually applicable to your situation, or you know, this is just stuff that's worked for me and stuff that I live by. So yeah. So I think the biggest thing I've learned in the past year is that I think most issues in self-esteem and confidence within yourself arises from, and like the quote is, don't compare yourself to others today, compare yourself to who you were yesterday. And I think that's so important. You know, everyone's on their own journey, whether you are a student or you're working in a career, or maybe you're an artist, or maybe you whatever. You know, if you compare yourself to other people today, that might, you know, there's always going to be someone that's ahead of you, or that's making more money than you, or that has better grades than you. There will always be someone like that. I think the most important thing is to always compare yourself to who you were yesterday. You know, am I improving? Am I getting better? Am I learning? That's important. And that's like one of the biggest things I think I've discovered. Not discovered, but like put more thinking into. And it's especially hard with social media. It's hard to like not compare yourself, I think. But, you know, you have to trust the process. You have to put the hours in. Whether that's getting better grades, getting a promotion, whatever, you know. Maybe you want to blow up on TikTok. It's about putting the hours in, stuff like that. You know, I I don't think there's many, there's no such, and that's kind of leads me to my next one. There's no such thing as overnight success. And I remember J. Cole saying that at like a concert a few years ago, but I'm sure it's from a while ago. And I think everyone is so under this impression that you just see people like blow up overnight. Recently there was that streamer, I think Aiden Ross, who's like went from like nothing a few years ago to like he's massive on Twitch now. And I think people forget that like there's so much work, determination, and just like blood, sweat, and tears that goes into like succeeding in life, and like overachieving in life. And again, no success happens overnight. You have to work at it. You have to, I think the biggest thing I've learned is like you really have to just work, and not expect results for a long time. And that's what happened with this YouTube channel. I started and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this for a whole year. And like, if I hate it after a year, then I won't do it anymore. But I need to try it. And here I am. And it's been like a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And I still enjoy it. I don't post as much as I used to. But that makes me like, I feel better about that. Like, it makes me feel like I can just kind of like chill and come on here when I really have something to say. Which I enjoy like a lot more, in my opinion. So, the sun is really coming through the window now, so apologies if you're physically watching me, or visually watching me. So yeah, do not expect anything overnight. Everything is worked for, and practiced, and everything like that. Put in the hours. So yeah, that was kind of my next point. I think especially, again, with like being in a very like social media world, it's like very easy to go viral and like blow up, quote unquote. So when you see like a bunch of people doing that, it's discouraging in a way that it makes you feel like, oh, if I like just blew up off like one thing, then like I'd be set. And I don't really think that's true. I mean, there's people that have like, that'll have like one viral video now and then like no, not a real like following after it. It's just like, oh yeah, you're that like whatever guy, or you're that whatever girl, like the person that made that big video. To really be successful, I mean, you just need to keep going viral and viral and viral, like to keep producing, not just on social media, but if you want to be a good student, you can't just turn in one paper that's an A. You have to keep the consistency. Same with being at work, you can't just do one good project, you have to keep the consistency. So I think that's important. Producing just like a high quality work or content or whatever you want to call it. So that's important. What else do I have? Other life advice. I have a couple to add to relationship advice, but I want to make sure that they kind of like all flow into each other. I think with relationship advice, it's difficult because everyone's relationship is very different. And, everyone has their preferences in relationships. Everyone was raised differently, so you have a different way of expressing emotion. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned is that I think that people discount the fact of how they were raised and how that contributes to like how they act in the present. I think that's super like neglected and not spoken about. And what I mean is like, if you grew up with a household that wasn't very expressive of like emotion and love and whatever, then you will most likely not express that emotion in life until you've realized it. And I'm not saying that's anyone's parents' fault, like no one is going to be raised perfectly. That's normal. Um, but yeah, I think people need to be more aware of like, oh, maybe I feel like this right now because of a certain way that I was as a kid, or because whatever. Um, like when I was younger, I think my parents focused a lot on like academics and stuff like that, so I didn't get to be as creative as I want. And sometimes I think in my head, like, I value like professional and academic successes over like artistic and like side hustle successes. And obviously each to their own, but I'm learning to like start to value those other successes more, after kind of recognizing that, that's how I was raised. And I think that's really important. I think, obviously, most of my audience is between like 18 and 24, so not everyone is having kids, but I think it's really important to like, I guess, like, realize the successes and not like failures. It's really important to recognize the good and the bad ways that you were raised, and then to kind of like change that and adapt that to like how you want to be as a parent. So yeah, pretty deep. Pretty deep stuff. But I wanted to say that because I've been thinking about that a lot recently. And it's like that reasoning, a lot of that explains like why a lot of, kids that are like from very broken homes, or like kids that didn't have access to an education, that like affects you later in life. And I think that's like, it obviously sucks because you don't choose how you're raised. You just have to hope that the way you were raised like works for you, I guess. And yeah, so I think that's very important. There's like a phrase that's like, I think it's Oscar Wilde quote, and it's like, we love our parents, then we hate them, and then sometimes we forgive them. So it's like, when you're a child, you love your parents, you're dependent on your parents fully, and then once you reach like late adolescence or even mid-adolescence, you start to like hate your parents. Well, not hate them, but like, it's like I think it's judge them. You actually judge them. So you start to kind of like realize that your parents are normal people who do normal things, and then you judge them. And then finally, the end of the quote, sometimes you forgive them. So, I think I've definitely gone through those 3 points. It's there's a weird point once you get a bit older, and like anyone that's probably graduated college kind of feels this. But for all of you still in like high school or college, it's not exactly the same. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just speaking from my personal experience. Like once you get to your like mid-20s, early to mid-20s, you kind of like realize that your parents are just like people, and that they're still figuring things out not just as much as you are, but they don't have it all figured out. And just like anyone, there's like issues in their lives and stuff like that. Whereas I think when you're like growing up, you kind of view your parents as like superheroes. Like they can make food, and they can drive, and they can whatever. So I think as you get older, it's not that same relationship anymore. And that's a good thing, like I think it's good to grow like that. And especially once you become independent of your parents, I think that's when that relationship is like fully realized. So yeah, kind of long. I guess the whole point of that is like, respect your parents. And if you are judging them, that's normal. And there will come a time where I hope everyone forgives their parents. I think in a lot of cases, parents don't want to raise their children in a bad way or in a way that might affect them in the future negatively. It's typically just, emotionally, it's just stuff that's happening in their own lives with emotions or money or whatever that causes that. So, shout out to all of the parents out there. Um, so yeah, finally, we'll just do some like little bits of relationship advice. I don't know, why not? Um, I'm trying to remember which ones I had in my head. Um, I think a really important thing in a relationship is there's typically, I'm sure all relationships are different, but in the relationships that I've been in and that my friends are in, there's typically like one person in the relationship that tends to be a little more emotionally driven, and one person in the relationship that's maybe a little more rationally driven. And those can be extreme or like more like moderate. Um, and if you are a rational person, let your emotional counterpart or partner or whatever always realize that sometimes they don't want to fix a problem. Sometimes they just want to talk about a problem. That's important. Very important. So yeah, sometimes people don't want a solution. They just want to vent. They just want to speak about their issue. They don't want it to be logically worked out. And that's okay. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Everyone's wired differently. So, yes, important. Um, I'll do an advice for people that are single but like are speaking to someone. Um, well, not necessarily speaking to someone, but like if you want to start dating someone or you want to ask someone out, I would say, like, I feel like so many people are hesitant because they're like, oh, what if this ruins the friendship or whatever? Um, and a big thing to consider, like, some people are friends with people before they date people. That's pretty common. Especially in like high school and stuff like that. I would say to those people, if you want to date someone that you like already know, which that would obviously be the only way, make sure that dating them, like you envision a better relationship with dating them than with being their friend. Because if you do start dating, there is a fairly good chance that if that dating came to an end, then the friendship would either not exist or be a lot less close. I remember having a dilemma like that in high school where I wanted to date this girl and she was like, I don't want to jeopardize our friendship. And I was like, I don't care, like it'll be worth it or whatever. Like I can't see us as just friends or whatever. Maybe I should do more story times. But yeah, something to consider. There are some people that are exes and still on good terms, but I don't think it's very common. And I think a lot of the time, if you are friends with your ex and then you start dating someone else and then you tell that person that you're friends with your ex, they're going to be a little put off by that. So I would not recommend. I've never done it. I don't really. I find like not that I've had like messy breakups or anything, but just once a relationship comes to an end, I feel like I've kind of moved on to a different part of my life after that. I don't know. Each to their own. So always consider that. Super important. What else was I gonna say? Oh, did I say this in the last video? Don't ever go on a date to the movies. Or don't ever just make it the movies, should I say. Like, the main reason is you can't talk during a movie. Go to a restaurant, go get a coffee. make a picnic for the other person. If you're asking them out, make them a picnic. Something like that. Something nice, something where you can actually talk, because a movie you just sit there and watch. Now, if you did dinner and a movie, that's chill, because then you get like the physicalness, or the like speaking in a dinner, and you get to know like who the person is, and and what they like to eat. That's always good. And then when you go see a movie, I feel like you get to know a lot about a person in a movie. Like, are they checking their phone? Like, and then you also get the like physical closeness there, which is always good. So if you ask someone out on a date, make sure it's not just a movie. I feel like I'm talking to people who don't ask, or who are much younger than me right now, but maybe it's advice for someone that's older than me. Who knows? Yeah, I like activity-based dates quite a bit, but I love food, so always down for a meal. Also, make sure if you do go for a meal that they're dietary, whatever, if they're vegan, if they're vegetarian, stuff like that. And yeah, one more thing. I will end the video off with this. I think dating people that are not in your friend circles, or like that you don't know, is underrated. And I'll start off by saying that dating your like people that you like know through other people is good, because like imagine you have like a friend circle, and then that friend circle has another friend circle, and then they like one person meets someone else from that, and then they introduce you to someone else in that circle, whatever. It's good because then like it's less risky going out on a date with them and it going badly, or like something bad happening, or them just being a creep or whatever. That's the obvious case for it, but there's something that a lot of people don't think about, and I noticed it in my relationship in high school. The person I was dating at the time and myself had like some of the same friends, and that puts them in a really awkward position, not only when you break up, because then they kind of have to pick sides. Even if they don't have to pick sides, they kind of always have to pick sides during the relationship. If there's ever any arguments, someone outside of the relationship, or like multiple people, will have to take on the role of like a mediator, kind of like a mediator. Is that what the word is? I think like mediating. I don't know. And dealing with all of your BS and all of those annoying arguments. So while it may be easier for you to have a mediator that sorts out your problems, it is a pain for the other person. And I've kind of known that since high school, but I haven't really said it on here, and I figured this was the video for it. So consider dating people that you don't know through other friends, because then that doesn't put them in an awkward position. It's different if it's like your friend knows someone else's friend, or your friend has a friend who has a friend, as opposed to like your friend's friend. Make sure they're a little more distant of a friend if you are going to go for that. But again, some people, like I said earlier, like when a relationship starts off as a friendship, and that's fair enough. It's not my preference, but that is fair enough. So this has been a fairly long video. I haven't uploaded in like 2 weeks, so hopefully, this makes up for that. Also, I'm trying like a bit of a different camera angle. It's a bit higher up. Looks a little bit more professional. I'm using like a little tripod thing, so if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button. If you do want to see a part 2, don't forget to comment down below, or part 2 of any other video, or you have a video suggestion. And finally, don't forget to subscribe. We're on our way to 1,250 subs. Let me know what you think of the advice down below.